Yeah, Prater in the ball game. KTIK, the ticket from your AM/FM radio all the way to your phone after you download our app, or go to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel where you'll see us right now. Getting ready to talk about 1 year ago today and how the whole world in football, certainly in this town, thought and expected, I guess, Kage Casey to be a first-round NFL draft pick, at least right there on the cusp of being a first-round draft pick. Now, a week from now, when we're at Burger and Brew, getting ready for our draft party, which you're going to come enter in our contest and hopefully win a ton of cool prizes, we know Kage Casey is not going to hear his name called on Thursday. But Mike Prater, my partner, Friday, you got round 2 and round 3. Kage Casey, Friday, what do you think? What do you know? What do you say?
Oh, man, I hate to say this because we love Kage. We love him as a dude. We love him as a football player, and he's everything that you want in a pro football player. He's everything you want in a college representing your university in the National Football League. But I'm getting the sense that Kage Casey is sliding to day 3. And, I always beat myself up for being wrong all the time. And in this particular case, I very well could be. But I'm starting to get the feeling that, the Boise State NFL Draft slide, guys, I've been following since 1999, 2000 with Bart Hendricks, and it's real. It's real. I mean, Bart Hendricks was supposed to go in the NFL draft and didn't, and I'll never forget draft weekend sitting around waiting for Bart, and it was painful and it was agonizing. And then here comes Ian Johnson, and then Jerron Johnson, and then Kellen Moore, and Jay Ajayi, and
Kellen.
Curtis Weaver, and Khalil Shakir, and J.L. Skinner, and Tyreek Jones, and John Ojukwu. So, guys, the draft slide for Boise State for a variety of different reasons, from everything from the G5 stigma to just Power 4 players out there are just bigger, better, stronger, or faster. Or in the case of like Ajayi or maybe even Curtis Weaver, health issues. J.L. Skinner, health issues. Those come into play all the time. Kage Casey is strong. He's healthy. He's happy. He's in great shape. He had a decent offseason. I just think he's gotten passed by a whole bunch of better and a deeper class of tackles and offensive linemen in this draft.
Guys, yeah, I think this is an unfortunate set of circumstances where it's kind of a little bit of everything that's contributed to this slide. I don't think his 2025 season was elite. It was good, but unfortunately, as we all know, you have to clear a higher bar when you're a G6 prospect, if you're going to get drafted on Thursday for sure. And I don't think he cleared that bar, so that knocked him into the second day just off of his game tape probably this season. And then when you think about some of the other stuff that's gone on since the draft, you have to ask yourself, well, why is he getting kicked inside? Are there things with the athletic testing that he's not doing great at? Can that be a little bit of a ding? The interviews are a big process here. We all know what happened with the bowl game, and that was kind of, a little bit of a surprise that week, because remember, it was the week after the conference championship. It could have just been another game week. And then on Wednesday or Thursday, whenever it was, boom, Kage Casey's not playing. And that happens a lot, but I'm sure that these kids get asked, the ones that opt out, why did you opt out? And maybe that created, maybe certain NFL teams didn't like his answer there. So I think it probably was a combination of the game film not being great and the athletic testing maybe not being great either. And maybe the interviews weren't great, and it's just like a little bit here, a little bit there. Next thing you know, he's hanging on the fence of maybe not even being drafted the second day.
Other than the 40 at the combine, he was in the bottom section of every offensive lineman in every other workout. He needed to show his strength at pro day. He did the opposite of that. Sadly, he showed his weakness. Okay, you need to, DBs were putting the bar up almost as much as that, man. DBs. And I don't know if it was just a bad rep, fine, but he showed, okay, he's not super strong. I think he's a tape guy, a grade guy. He always graded out really well. We would always say, Kage Casey was the #1 left tackle grade any group of 5 player had. But then I think they're seeing his measurables, and if you're going to go in round 1, no question, you're an all-world athlete, as you know, unless you're like a quarterback who can sling it. But if you're not, pretty hard to go in the first round, especially when they're going to move you inside. I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out on this, but I think there's a really good chance, you guys. We're going to be bummed out on that Friday night, even with those extra compensatory third-round picks that Kage Casey and his wife from Park City, Utah, they got the place for the weekend, and I think we might.
Is she from there?
No,
right.
That's just where they're staying.
They just
so
pick that spot
without family and friends, and maybe he knew something, and maybe Friday night he doesn't want to be around it. I mean, JL Skinner guys had a huge Friday night party when he was for his draft night. Huge. I mean, 20, 30, 40 people showed up for JL Skinner's Friday night draft party, and he went to bed and woke up and got drafted on Saturday. And nobody wants to go through that. We've seen that at the highest of high levels on draft day number 1
Ian
from
Johnson,
the green room.
too, man. That was a tough one.
Well, they were all tough ones, the past ones. But in terms of Kage Casey, for me, it's about he doesn't have a superpower. He's not a great athlete. He's not overly strong. I don't buy the interview thing. I think his interview was fine, and the fact that he opted out, that's so prevalent now. I don't think that's an issue, and that's more of an indictment on Spencer Danielson than it was on Kage Casey, if you ask me. But he did not have a great offseason. It was an okay offseason. It wasn't great. He was fine at the Senior Bowl. He got good reviews and good rave at the Senior Bowl, but then it just kind of went downhill from there. I think he can play football, and whoever's going to get him might get a steal, especially if it's in round 4 or 5. By the way, guys, Ajay Ajayi was supposed to go in the second round, fifth round. Curtis Weaver was projected second day, went in the 5th round. Khalil Shakir was a 3rd, 4th round projection. He went in the 5th round. It seems like a lot of the Boise State slide guys ended up in the 5th round. I think Kage Casey, by the way, the Athletic, their big draft beast, they've got him going in the 5th round. ESPN has him ranked at 139. USA Today has him ranked at 91st. The NFL.com ranks Kage Casey at 131st overall. Again, these are all
do the math, 32
3rd, 4th,
teams.
5th. And then the NFL also has a projection report on Kage Casey. They say he's going to go in the 4th or the 5th round. So I think the writing's on the wall. We're not putting all of our stock into mock drafts. We certainly get it. But when every single mock draft that goes completely that deep has Kage Casey going 4th or 5th round. And in one case, I saw a 6th round deal. I think it's happening, guys.
6th.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. I think Kage Casey.
Round.
But and he's also switching positions, and he's never really played guard.
He hasn't.
That's a big part of it there. So switching positions, not being this great athlete, not having this massive superpower, and not being overly as strong, and they want to move him inside. I think the writing's on the wall, and I think Kage Casey is kind of feeling it a little bit.
And nothing changed we had him in here a couple weeks ago when he told us about his plans to go to Park City with his wife and the dog and keep it low key. I'm sure he probably, Prater hinted at it, I'm sure he probably had an idea then that this thing might be on the fence, and then you'd much rather make a phone call or Zoom your parents on Friday night when surprisingly you get drafted at the end of the 3rd round than go to bed with 40 people that were expecting you to be drafted on Friday and then have to wake up again on Saturday. And guys, I think the other concern that you would have, really, I think any day 3 guy, obviously 4th round you might feel pretty good, but most of the day 3 guys, they're going to be battling just to make 53-man rosters come July and August.
Some of them will be instant starters too.
Some of them could be instant starters, but some of them will be on practice squads.
100%.
Or not even.
Some of them will get cut. Drafted players get cut every summer.
So, if you're talking about him falling all the way maybe into the 6th round, then maybe we're watching if Kage Casey is going to make a 53-man roster come the fall, which we certainly wouldn't have expected.
Kage Casey is going to be on a roster. Kage Casey's a good football player. Kage Casey just doesn't have the intangibles and the sex appeal that's going to attract you on a draft situation.
Potentially a day 2 pick.
No, I don't think he is. And I think he's going to be a good football player. I think he's a lot like an Ezra Cleveland, a lot like a John Ojukwu. Move him around, get him the right spot, get him on the right team, and I really think he's going to be a good one. And for all the talk we've had here about a dozen Boise State dudes in the NFL draft slide, Maybe he'll shock us because there's always the Kyle Wilsons, the Brock Forseys, the Leighton Vander Esches, the positive, beautiful, wonderful surprises.
Kamale
that Boise
Correa,
State, yeah,
round 2,
yeah.
that was a beautiful surprise. I know he didn't have the
Yeah.
career, but that's
No,
why he was overdrafted.
Yeah,
He went round
exactly.
2, Kamale Correa. Man.
But I never really considered him to be that big of a name. And Kyle Wilson going in the first round, Forsey and Leighton Vander Esch were rock stars and superstars. Those were shocking to me, absolutely shocking, almost as much as Ajayi and Weaver were not shocking. As a matter of fact, I took a beating during draft season back in the day when Jay Ajayi and Curtis Weaver slipped. Curtis Weaver was the all-time leading sack leader in the Mountain West, and he had some serious injuries.
What was the deal with him?
Shaq was the one guy that really, really shocked me. Shaq had an amazing offseason. Shaq had a brilliant offseason. Shaq was projected to go in the 3rd or 4th round. Shaq was the 21st wide receiver taken. Khalil Shakir absolutely shocked me.
Which one of these surprised you the most? We're talking about the Boise draft day slide, and which player you're like, wait, God, how did he last that long? You can call Taco Bell hotline 208-424-9300. A lot of names on that list. Yeah, most of them, not drafted where you thought they'd be. Scott Matlock getting drafted was great. Matt Paradis getting drafted was great. John Bates in the 4th round, I think, was great. But in most cases, what happened with Curtis Weaver? I was in Oregon doing a show.
He wasn't good
During that draft.
I don't think he was good.
They just missed on him. It wasn't an injury thing, or just kind of, they fell in love with the stats, you think?
What do you mean they fell in love with the stats?
All-time Mountain West sack leader.
Yeah, but he plummeted in the NFL draft. Absolutely plummeted. And he had injury issues. He had body chemistry issues. I thought he was really, really soft. I didn't think he was very bright. And not bright, that's not fair. He was a really smart kid, and I liked him a lot. I don't think he had a good football IQ, and I think there was an inflated sense of self-awareness there. Everybody thought Curtis Weaver was going to go high. And it didn't work. Jay Ajayi went in the 5th round to Miami, by the way, in 2015. Curtis Weaver went in the 5th round to Miami in 2020.
Yeah.
A long-time Miami personnel scout, guys, was based in Boise at the time. And I have no idea if that's the guy that reached out and gave each of these guys a security net. But I found it to be a little bit weird that 2 of the biggest draft fallers in Boise State history ended up in the 5th round going to the Miami Dolphins when there was a Boise guy in charge of player personnel. So very interesting there. But, the NFL draft slide, guys, is real. It's 27 years long, 26 years long. It started with Bart Hendricks, and I think it's going to continue next week with Kage Casey.
One other thing I would add, and it's a name we've talked about before, I think had him on the show during the season. Charles Leno ended up, I don't know what his slide was like, but maybe he was projected late. Nice career for a 7th rounder. And
that's exactly where he was supposed to go.
Okay.
Day 3, 6th, 7th round, right?
My whole point was, just because you end up on the 3rd day, it doesn't mean you can't have yourself a real nice career.
A 10-year career.
Yeah.
Kage Casey's going to play in the NFL for a long time.
I agree. It might not be day 1, it might not be day 2, and it might be, again, another player in the Boise State draft not going anywhere close to where we all kind of thought, expected, read, and followed throughout the football season and beyond. All right, Top Gun 3. Good idea? Bad idea? 208-424-9300. Movie Geeks. Why is this a good idea? Why is this a bad idea? We are going to get a Top Gun 3? KTIK the ticket.
This is Ticket Traffic.
Lithia Ford of Boise is everywhere you want to be this spring, Bronco